Lawrence, honestly, we met not too long ago in church, right?
Yeah, we did meet in church. It was, I was like, hey, I know this guy. I've been seeing him around. Let me make sure I introduce myself to him.
Yeah. And pulled us to this point where we're sitting here today trying to get to know one another even more. We've had several talks in passing and what have you. I've taken notice of your style, my man. I've taken notice of how you carry yourself. I've taken notice of when you choose to not say a word.
That's good. That's good right there.
So what I wanted to do is invite you on today to talk a little bit about your podcast, what you do. I can explain some of the vision that I have for the young men in the city of Cleveland and some of the older men in the city of Cleveland and everybody that's in between. And I think that is some exciting stuff that's going to be happening in 2025 in Cleveland. And I believe that the writing is on the wall. So if you could tell me a little bit about, your background, what you do, what you're passionate about, and things like that, and then we'll dig right in and talk about, I hear that relationships are a thing that interests you.
Sure. So I started back in 2007, and it started as just a regular podcast called Mr. L Radio Show when I was down in Atlanta, Georgia. Prior to that, I had worked in like a little bit of radio here in Lorraine for a second for a church. So when I got to Atlanta, I wanted to do my own thing. So I went on the Blog Talk Radio and started the Mr. L Radio Show. I did that since 2007, and it evolved in the past couple of years, say before the pandemic, and it changed to the thinking class, because I wanted men to actually be able to think. And so one of the things that we stand on is, or our catchphrase or our tagline is, the thinking class, when spirituality and the game combines. So what that does is it combines the spiritual aspect, being connected to God, but also with enough to have street smarts. And I think those two need to combine because it's needed for a man to be successful in this world.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. And in that sense, when we talk about street smarts and things of that sort, what's your viewpoint on, I had made a post just the other day on all of my social media in regards to a statement that Redman made. Redman being my favorite rapper of all time. Shameless plug, Reggie Noble. I got you, bro.
Yeah.
But he made us. He's been through life, right?
Yeah.
Like we all have.
Yes.
Right. And he made a statement that he was going to tattoo 3 words on his body: vulnerability, accountability, and transparency. And he stated that if a man can do those 3 things, then he'll be able to build more relationships. He'll be more successful. He'll be more happy. It's a way to combat this world, honestly.
Yeah.
And when you look at those words, the average guy that's got some game, like you said,
Yes.
that seemed like I'm supposed to be doing the opposite of all of that. Right? Those 3 words.
That's true.
So what's your viewpoint on it?
So there's 2 types of the game. So I will say the real game, you're going to walk first in transparency. You're going to be, what I mean by being transparent, you're going to share everything that it is. If you're going to lie about it, you're not going to tell the truth, and you're not going to be honest to the game. So being transparent first with yourself. I think a lot of men, if you want to be successful in life, game, in any business, you need to be honest with yourself first. And you got to be transparent. This is where I am. This is who I am. This is what's in me that I need to deal with. These are the things I like, and these are the things I do not like. Transparency starts first. Vulnerability. So, like true to the game, if you're vulnerable, you have to admit where you're not good at, or where you're not successful at, or where you're weak at. You cannot improve unless you understand where you're vulnerable at. And I think a lot of times men and people in society are scared to be vulnerable because they're scared to look at themselves in the mirror.
But they missing out on the hope, bro. On the help, bro. Help come.
The help comes when you're vulnerable. And even in a relationship, if you're going to be successful in a relationship, you have to be transparent and you have to be vulnerable. How can you really have true intimacy if you're not vulnerable with the one that you're with? So yeah, I think that's very vitally important. And you said the last word you gave was accountability. Now, this word right here is something that a lot of people, church, outside of church, anywhere, are scared to be accountable. I have 3 or 4 people that I'm accountable to in my life. If something goes on, something I did or said online, offline, my personal life, I have to give an answer to them why I did it. And I think accountability keeps you on the straight and narrow to complete your purpose that you're called to be here for. So accountability is vitally important for any man or anyone that's listening to be accountable.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. When he mentioned it, I kind of looked at it, and then it makes me think about, because of my passion for our community, because of my passion to teach and to help people reach their goals and all of those things, it made me think about, okay, who are those guys that are in my life, and did they exhibit these 3 things? And when I look at it, the guys in my life, Chucky Johnson, Alan, Doc, Pops, to mention many others that raised me, they had degrees of success on how well they were able to accomplish these 3 things. When I look at it. So I learned different degrees of accountability. I learned different degrees of vulnerability. I learned different degrees of transparency. But when I'm rigorously honest with myself, I have to say this. And patient, I get the lesson.
yeah.
And the lessons learned, and I can move forward. And that's, be it a bad real estate deal, be it anything in life, be it a mortgage that falls out, be it that, okay, I got to work with my client a little bit longer because we got to work on this step or that step or credit or what have you. To just build a relationship through it all, it's going to take these 3 things.
Yeah.
It's going to, on both parties.
Yeah, I agree. So in turn, so you asked me that question. I'm going to ask you that question. What does transparency, vulnerability, and accountability looks like in your life? I think that's a good question because I ain't gonna lie, you just ask me a question and I'm not gonna ask you back. I have to do that. So what does that really look like for Duane Johnson, the man? What is that looking? And I'm going to ask you some questions after that about your life.
Yeah. Transparency, I'll start there as well. So we've already shuffled the words up according to Redman.
Right.
But I'll start with transparency and being able to be okay with being yourself.
That's good.
Whatever that is. Whatever you look like in the mirror in the morning, in the afternoon, after you done put your duds on, after you done got fresh, after you left the gym, whatever that is, just being okay with who you are and representing that person that always.
Yeah.
That's what transparency is to me. Because it starts with being honest with yourself. Right?
Yes.
And if I'm honest with myself, I'm vulnerable to my own emotions. I'm not choking them. I'm not drowning them. I'm feeling them.
Yeah.
And I'm working through them. And that makes me vulnerable. But if I don't know what's wrong, I can't even ask for help.
Yeah, that's true.
So I got to be vulnerable to ask for help.
That's true.
What guy do you know that wasn't vulnerable when he was asking for help?
The 2 can exist.
And did your mama tell you that a closed mouth don't get fed?
That's what she said.
She sure did, didn't she?
Yeah.
So, and then accountability. A lot of times we can't be vulnerable and transparent just because we can't hold ourselves accountable to who we are, what we've done, what we are, what we not, what we got to learn, all of those things. But those three things, what they mean to me is growth all day, every day.
That's good. That's good. And it's good to hear another side, to hear your side of it, of what those words mean to you. Because a lot of times we think our definitions or our explanation needs to be the same, and it doesn't. And I can appreciate that because it gives a layer to who you are, and it leads into the next question
Well,
that
you
I
did
have.
say you had another question.
So tell me, I met you. Yes, I met you at church. Actually, it was a couple years back, and I remember you were standing in the back wall, and I shook your hand and I turned your wrist, and I said, "Oh, okay." And you said, "Okay." And then I said, "I see you." Then we walked, and I went to go have my seat. I sat in the back there. Actually, I sat by the mothers. I didn't want to sit up front. And I shook your hand. He's like, "Okay." And I said, "Oh, I see you had something on your wrist." So I was like, "Oh, I see you." And so fast forward, say last summer. Yeah, it was to get the illustrious brothers. So yeah, shout out to them. And fast forward to last year, I seen you at an event, and then we connected back at church. And I said, I wonder, what is it about Duane Johnson? What is his story? Why is he passionate about real estate? Because I know you do real estate, but what is it about you that caused you to say, "Hey, this is who I am"? Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. My grandfather made sure that his oldest grandson inherited his house
Wow.
on 105 in Ashbury.
Mm.
And Lawrence, I'm a recovered alcoholic, 17 years. And his oldest grandson, and we could blame a lot of people, but he left it to me, so I blame myself. I drank it away. Okay. It helped me in a lot of ways, and I wish I would have been able for it to help me my entire life. Okay. But I cut the branch before all of the fruit was born. You got it?
Yes.
But during that time, I also learned a lot about myself. And I was able to take a look at myself, get myself sober, get 100% custody of my daughter, have her grow up with me being her father 100% of the time, and really influence her life. Shout out to Adrienne Johnson. She is doing a great job in the United States Navy right now.
Thank you for her service.
And yeah, that's my pretty brave girl.
Yeah.
And then, Lord would have it, I ran back into my high school sweetheart from 22 years ago, Lauren. No, it's longer than that now. But at the time, it was 22 years.
Okay.
All right. And Lauren, she the one that, look, check this out. I wasn't a boyfriend type, right? Okay. My nickname is Paco for everybody out there.
Okay. All right.
Shout out DeVille. And I wasn't a boyfriend type.
Okay.
And she was just a cool chick.
Yeah.
Knew all of my friends. It wasn't going to be me, Lawrence. I left her alone. No explanation, no nothing. Look, we graduate high school. We stay cool because she cool.
Yeah.
We speak and everything, but we ain't dating. And then 22 years later, I got me a child and everything. We run back into each other. 6 months later, we engaged. 10 months later, 9 months later, we married.
Wow.
On Valentine's Day, bro.
That's big right there.
And February the 14th, it'll be 15 years.
15 years. That's deep, brother.
Yeah, it'll be 15 years. But, she, and we can tape this too, Nick, and we're going to have to cut it up. And I don't care if we even got to tell Liz and make this part public, right? Check out.
Yeah.
My wife is a teammate.
Wow.
I can talk to my wife and be transparent, vulnerable, and I give her the power to hold me accountable.
Wow.
She is my teammate. But check this out how it started.
Okay.
I'm newly sober, 6 months, man.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All of y'all that been 6 months sober know the glow that I had at the time. I was fighting a lion to explain that, no, this was different.
Yeah. I got you.
You know what I'm saying? I was
Right.
fighting the lion then. But for me to make sure, it started with a selfish action.
Yeah.
For me to make sure that I was okay to see if she was truly different, like I thought in my head, I messed around and told her everything.
Oh my God.
From the first conversation.
Mm.
And you know what I thought?
What's that?
If she still want to talk and see me after this, it's all gravy after that.
That's good. That's good, though.
And I was able to walk into my marriage with that feeling.
That's powerful, because I think a lot of times those who've been in the game, who've been in that life, and you said something, you wasn't a married, you wasn't a boyfriend type. When you mature and stop dealing with childish things and you're willing to walk into being a man, when you find the one that's right for you, you have no problem opening up and being transparent and vulnerable to her, because you know, like you said, she has your back. She's your teammate, and she's not going to do anything to hurt you. Many times that's all men need, is a place to lay their head at and be at peace of who they are and who they're with. So that was deep. So wow, I didn't know that. Especially on 105 in Ashbury, that was something, because that's my stomping ground.
Yeah, man. I know you from somewhere other than us meeting at church. It felt like that from the gate.
Yeah. It has. Yeah, definitely. So I have a question. So why, with losing, that's a great story of losing that property, or with that property, what inside of you said, I have to redeem the time and actually make it
Right.
so that other people don't go what I went through?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So I'm a lifetime career banker, Lawrence.
Okay.
I've been in the industry ever since my graduation, 2 years after my graduation from UC. I have been a mortgage loan officer prior to being a loan officer now. My dad was a banker. He started with Cleveland Trust.
Wow, that's nice.
So I couldn't get away from thinking about it because of where I was raised, about money,
Great.
about real estate,
Okay.
about legacy, all of those things. So I can't get away from it, right?
Yes.
So there was a period of time also that I was not in the bank, where I did some other jobs like insurance and some marketing positions and things of that sort. And during that time, I was really just trying to pick up every tool that I possibly could. And come to find out, my community service that I had to do
Wow.
turned into a full-time position.
That's big.
This beats down even more about, I hinted on to it about talking about being rigorously honest, man.
Yes.
So I am working for this public interest law firm, which is for housing advocacy and all of these other things, right? This is the community service that they found me after seeing my resume.
Yes.
So I figure I'm going to do the 100 hours. It'd be 40, and a 20. I'm done with this in 3 weeks. I can go back to my life or what have you, man.
Yes.
But at the time, the Lord was working on me, Lawrence, and I couldn't sit there for 8 hours doing nothing.
Okay.
So it ended up being like 2 hours a day, 4 hours a day, and it lasted 2-3 months. This community service, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I was there, I did say it was a public interest law firm, right?
Yes.
Lawrence, I ended up creating myself my own job, doing all of the stuff that all these lawyers didn't want to do. They showed me how to do it and gave me the training to do it.
Wow.
I'm also the budget and grant administrator, and I control the payroll. Right? So I'm learning all about the checks and balances of a nonprofit and a for-profit because there's a couple of companies under this umbrella.
Okay.
And so that's going all great. So now it comes to the community service is over. I'm like, okay, well, community service over. I get offered a job. And the job is like, okay, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. But I've built my life like this, and I'm 6, 7, maybe 8, 9 months sober at the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to do all this other stuff to stay sober. I'm thinking in my head,
Right.
I can't be here all this time sitting around like I saw I was before.
Yeah.
So I speak to the executive director. He say, oh, Duane, I know you caught a DUI. I say, no, I ain't catch a DUI. I earned it. It was me.
Right. That's
and this is everything I do now to stay sober, to not catch another DUI, and to be the guy that you know. Because I'm Dwayne Johnson right now. I didn't banish Paco. But I brought Paco back, man. Because he's got many attributes. You mentioned the gang.
Yeah.
So he ended, after being rigorously honest and actually turning down the job, he actually said, hey, well, I pay you this amount. If you got to leave, you'll just have a cell phone. You'll be on call anyway. You don't have to be here the whole time. And if I need you other hours, we'll work that out.
That's good.
And he said, Duane, believe me, if you ever need to leave to go to a meeting, just go and then just call me and let me know you at the meeting.
That's good. Accountability.
And that was from being honest.
Yeah.
Transparent.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be transparent, folks. The reason for us meeting today, me and Lawrence, truly, is I am truly trying to build a relationship with my clients. One that we mentioned, one that I have, and a lot of guys around the neighborhood, and throughout my life. Some former clients, I'm clients of theirs, what have you. And I think we should all start bringing our tools to the table, exhibiting them, and celebrating each other and learning from one another. But 2025 is the year of the cash out and the re-up. Okay? If you owe $20,000 less on your rental property, and it makes no sense to sell it with prices increasing, cash out and hold now. All right? PM me for any details or any knowledge that you wish for me to share. I'm open to in-person meetings. Don't hesitate. 2025 is the year of the cash out and the re-up. Hey, you know what? Check out this also. On top of that, if you owe $20,000 or less and you've been holding this property, you probably got a good, stable tenant relationship. DM me. We got to talk.
You can reach me on all social media, Lawrence D. Adams. That's Lawrence D. Adams on Facebook, Instagram, well, hopefully TikTok, and YouTube. But on YouTube is going to be Lawrence D. Adams, The Thinking Class. That's where I go live every Friday from 1 to 2 o'clock, and I share from the spiritual side of game, The Thinking Class. That's how you can reach me.
Hey, brother, I want to thank you for coming out.
Oh, no problem.
Being willing has been a blessing, truly.
Yes.
I've been on this journey since, what is it, Nick? Today is 48 days of 100 days. I'm waking up and having devotion with my wife at 6 a.m. every morning. After that, I'm hitting the gym every day.
Okay.
For 100 days. We're going to see what I look like in those 100 days.
Well, you got me.
I'm probably going to be catching the plane. Stay tuned for the next interview.
I hear you. I'm in the gym too. Got to keep in the gym in this age. Hope you can come up with the answers, baby. Girl, it's easy to love me.